Captain Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the stars through the main view screen. The warship had been patrolling the outer edge of human space for 3 weeks now. It was quiet work, but Jake knew how important it was. Out here, any trouble could mean danger for the colonies deeper in human territory. "Captain," called Lieutenant Amy Clark from her position at the tactical station, "I'm picking up a distress signal." Jake turned toward her. Amy was young but smart, and she had good instincts. "What kind of signal?" "It's coming from about 2 light minutes away." "The signature looks alien, sir. Possibly Zephyrian." Jake frowned. The Zephyrians were not exactly enemies, but they were not friends either. The two species had signed a peace treaty 5 years ago, but tensions still ran high. "Can you tell what kind of ship it is?" Amy worked at her console for a moment. "It appears to be a merchant vessel, Captain. The signal says they have engine problems and are requesting assistance." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Jake could feel the tension in the air. Chief Engineer Pete Williams spoke up from his station. "Captain, merchant vessels usually travel in groups out here. Why would one be alone?" "Good question, Pete." Jake thought for a moment. The right thing to do was help any ship in distress, but something felt wrong. "Amy, are you detecting any other ships in the area?" "Negative, sir. Just the one vessel. It's drifting about 1/2 kilometer from an asteroid field." Jake walked closer to the view screen. His gut told him to be careful, but his duty told him to help. "Set course for their position, but keep our shields up and weapons ready." "Aye, Captain," replied Navigator Tony Brooks. As the Liberty moved closer to the distress signal, Jake studied the alien ship on the screen. It looked damaged, with scorch, marks along its hull and one engine completely dark. The ship was spinning slowly, which made it look like it really was in trouble. "I'm getting life signs from the vessel," reported Medical Officer Dr. Sam Taylor. "About 12 individuals. All appear to be alive, but some seem injured." Jake nodded. That made him feel a little better about the situation. "Open a channel. Communications." Officer Lisa Davis worked at her station. "Channel open, sir." "This is Captain Murphy of the human warship Liberty. We received your distress call. What is your situation?" The reply came back in broken English. "Thank you, human ship. We are cargo vessel distant trader. Our engines exploded during jump. We have wounded. Please help." Jake looked at Amy, who was studying her readings carefully. "Captain," she said quietly, "something doesn't feel right. The damage pattern on their ship, it looks too neat, like it was done on purpose." "What do you mean?" "The scorch marks are in exactly the right places to disable their engines without destroying the ship. It's almost like they damaged their own vessel," Pete Williams added. "And, sir, why would a merchant ship be traveling alone in this sector? It's pretty far from any major trade routes." Jake felt his suspicions growing, but he also knew they could not just leave people to die. "Dr. Taylor, prepare a medical team. Amy, keep scanning for other ships. Pete, make sure our engines are ready for quick movement if we need it." "Captain," Lisa said, "they're asking us to come alongside so they can transfer their wounded." That set off alarm bells in Jake's head. "Negative. Tell them we'll send a shuttle with medical supplies and personnel. They can transfer their wounded to our shuttle." As Jake gave the order, Amy's console started beeping urgently. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures. Ships are decloaking." Jake spun around to see Amy's screen showing 4 large warships appearing out of nowhere around the Liberty. They were sleek and dangerous looking with the sharp angles that marked them as Zephyrian military vessels. "Red alert!" Jake shouted. "All hands to battle stations!" The bridge lights dimmed and red warning lights began flashing. The crew moved quickly to their positions as the ship's alarm echoed through the corridors. Incoming transmission from the lead Zephyrian ship, Lisa reported. On screen, the view screen changed to show a Zephyrian commander. The alien's blue-scaled face was cold and angry. Human vessel, you have entered Zephyrian territory without permission. Surrender now or be destroyed. Jake stepped forward. This is neutral space according to the treaty. We're here responding to a distress call. The Zephyrian smiled, showing sharp teeth. The distress call was bait, human. Your species is too trusting. Now you will pay for your weakness. They're charging weapons, Amy called out. Evasive maneuvers, Jake ordered. Return fire! The Liberty banked hard to the right, just as energy beams shot through the space where they had been. The human ship's weapons fired back, but the Zephyrian ships were ready for battle while the Liberty had been caught off guard. Direct hit to our port shields, Amy reported as the ship shook from enemy fire. Shield strength down to 60%. More ships decloaking, Pete shouted. They've got us surrounded. Jake gripped his command chair as another blast rocked. The ship. The Zephyrians had planned this ambush perfectly. The fake merchant ship, the distress call, even the location near the asteroid field, everything was designed to trap them. Captain, we're taking heavy damage, Amy called out. Main weapons are down to 50%. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 8. Emergency bulkheads are sealed, Dr. Taylor reported, but we have casualties coming in. Jake watched as more enemy fire lit up the space around them. The Liberty's shields flared with each hit. They were outgunned and outnumbered. He had to make a decision fast. Tony, plot a course for the asteroid field. Best speed. Sir, that's dangerous. We could hit something. Not as dangerous as staying here. Amy, give me everything we have left on the rear weapons. Make them think twice about following us. The Liberty spun around and fired everything it had at the closest Zephyrian ship. The enemy vessel's shields flashed but held. However, the attack gave the Liberty a few seconds to accelerate toward the asteroid field. They're following us, Amy reported. Good, Jake said. In that field, their numbers won't matter as much. We might have a chance. As the Liberty raced toward the asteroids with enemy ships close behind, Jake knew they were in serious trouble. But he also knew his crew was the best in the fleet. If anyone could get them out of this trap, they could. The asteroids grew larger on the screen as they approached. Behind them, the Zephyrian ships continued firing, each blast getting closer. To finding its mark, the Liberty shook violently as it weaved between the massive asteroids. Captain Jake Murphy held tight to his command chair while his crew worked frantically at their stations. Behind them, the Zephyrian ships had slowed down, unwilling to follow. Too deep into the dangerous rock field. They're holding back, reported Lieutenant Amy Clark, watching her tactical display. Looks like they don't want to risk their ships in here. Smart of them, Jake replied. Tony, find us a good hiding spot, something big enough to cover us while we make repairs. Navigator Tony Brooks studied his screen carefully. There's a large asteroid about 2 kilometers ahead, Captain. It has a deep crater on one side. We could park in there and be hidden from long-range sensors. Do it. The Liberty moved slowly through the field, its damaged engines struggling to maintain power. Sparks flew from damaged panels on the bridge, and the lights flickered on and off. The ship finally settled into the crater hidden from the Zephyrian fleet. Amy, what's our status? Jake asked. Amy looked at her console with worry. It's not good, Captain. Main engines are offline. Secondary engines are running at only 30%. Weapons are down to 20% power. And, sir, something strange is happening to our hull. What do you mean? The damage from their weapons isn't staying the same. It's getting worse. Whatever they hit us with, it's still eating through our systems. Chief Engineer Pete Williams spoke up from his station. Captain, I need to get down to engineering and see what's happening. This doesn't sound like normal weapon damage. Go, Jake ordered. Take whoever you need. As Pete left the bridge, Dr. Sam Taylor approached Jake. Captain, I've got 14 injured crew members in sickbay. Most are stable, but 3 are in serious condition. The good news is that our medical bay wasn't damaged in the attack. Jake nodded. Keep me informed of their condition, Doc. Communications Officer Lisa Davis had been working quietly at her station. Captain, our long-range communications are down. I can get short-range working, but we can't call for help. How long until you can fix it? Hard to say, sir. A lot of the communication array was damaged. Could be days, maybe weeks. Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. His ship was badly damaged, his crew was hurt, and they were trapped in an asteroid field with enemy ships waiting outside. But he had been in bad situations before, and he knew his crew was tough. All right, everyone, here's what we're going to do. Lisa, you work on communications. Amy, help her when you can. Tony, I want you to map this asteroid field. Find us the best routes in and out. Dr. Taylor, take care of our wounded. What about the engines, sir? Tony asked. Pete will handle that, and we're going to help him. 20 minutes later, Jake was in the engine room with Pete Williams. The engineer was kneeling next to a damaged power conduit, using a small scanner to examine it. His face was grim. Captain, you need to see this, Pete said, pointing the scanner at the damaged area. Look at this reading. Jake looked at the scanner display, but didn't understand what he was seeing. Explain it to me, Pete. These aren't normal blast marks. The Zephyrians hit us with some kind of nanite weapon, tiny robots that eat through metal and electronics. They're still active, still consuming our ship bit by bit. Can you stop them? Pete stood up and wiped sweat from his forehead. I think so, but it's going to take time. I need to create an electromagnetic pulse strong enough to kill the nanites without destroying our own systems. It's tricky work. How long? Give me 12 hours, Captain. Maybe 10 if I'm lucky. Jake clapped Pete on the shoulder. Do what you need to do. I'll get you help. As Jake walked back through the ship, he saw his crew working hard despite their situation. Some were repairing damaged systems, others were helping the wounded, and a few were standing guard in case the Zephyrians found them. Everyone looked tired and worried, but nobody was giving up. Back on the bridge, Jake found Amy and Lisa working together on the communications array. They had panels open and wires spread across 2 workstations. Any luck? He asked. Some, Lisa replied. I think I can get short-range communications working in a few hours. Long-range is going to take much longer. Amy looked up from a tangle of wires. Captain, I've been thinking about our situation. The Zephyrians are probably waiting at the edge of the asteroid field. They know we have to come out eventually. Probably, Jake agreed. But they also know this field is dangerous for them. They might not wait forever. Or they might call for more ships, Amy added. Jake had thought of that too. If the Zephyrians brought enough ships, they could spread out around the entire asteroid field and wait. The Liberty would be completely trapped. Tony, Jake called, to the navigator. How big is this field? Tony looked up from his mapping work. It's huge, Captain. Maybe 50 kilometers across. And it's not just one layer. There are asteroids stacked up in 3 dimensions. Some of them are the size of small moons. Good. That gives us room to move if we need to. Dr. Taylor's voice came over the ship's intercom. Captain Murphy to sickbay. Please. Jake made his way to the medical bay, where he found Dr. Taylor working on one of the injured crew members. The patient was unconscious, with several machines connected to him. "How is he, Doc?" "He'll live, but it was close." "Captain, I wanted to talk to you about something else. When I was treating the injured, I noticed something strange about their wounds." "What kind of strange?" Dr. Taylor led Jake to a computer terminal. "Look at these scans. The injuries from the Zephyrian weapons aren't just burns. There's some kind of foreign material in the wounds. Very small particles." Jake looked at the medical scans. "Could it be pieces of their weapons?" "Maybe. Or maybe it's connected to what Pete found in engineering. These nanites might be designed to attack both ships and people." The thought made Jake angry. Using weapons that continued to hurt people after the battle was over seemed cruel, even for the Zephyrians. "Can you treat it?" "I think so. I'm working on a treatment now. But Captain, if these nanites are designed to spread, they could affect our entire ship eventually." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. If Dr. Taylor was right, the Liberty was fighting two battles. One against the Zephyrians waiting outside, and another against tiny robots eating their ship from the inside. "Keep working on it, Doc, and let me know if anyone else gets sick." As Jake walked back to the bridge, he thought about their situation. They were hidden for now, but they couldn't stay here forever. Pete was working on stopping the nanites, Lisa was trying to fix communications, and Dr. Taylor was treating the wounded. Everyone was doing their job, but Jake wondered if it would be enough. The Liberty was hurt, but it wasn't dead, and neither was its crew. Jake had seen humans do amazing things when their backs were against the wall. Maybe this time would be no different. He just hoped they would have enough time to find out. Captain Jake Murphy was reviewing damage reports when Science Officer Kate Brown burst onto the bridge. Her face was excited and confused at the same time. "Captain, you need to see this," Kate said, almost out of breath. "I was doing a detailed scan of the asteroid where we're hiding, and I found something impossible." Jake looked up from his reports. "What kind of impossible?" "There are structures inside this asteroid. Artificial structures. And Captain, they're old. Really old." Amy Clark turned from her station. "Are you sure they're not natural formations?" Kate shook her head. "Definitely artificial. The patterns are too regular, too complex. Someone built these things." Jake stood up. "Show me." Kate led him to the science station and pointed at her screen. The display showed a cross-section view of the asteroid they were hiding in. Jake could see what looked like rooms and corridors carved deep inside the rock. "How deep do they go?" Jake asked. "At least 2 kilometers down," Kate replied. "Maybe deeper. My scans can't penetrate beyond that point. There's some kind of interference." Dr. Sam Taylor approached from the medical bay. "Did someone say there are structures in this asteroid?" "That's right, Doc," Jake said. "Kate found what looks like an ancient base or city inside the rock." Dr. Taylor studied the scans with interest. "Captain, this could be important. If there's an ancient civilization here, they might have technology that could help us." Jake thought about this. They needed all the help they could get, but exploring unknown alien ruins could be dangerous. "Kate, are you detecting any life signs?" "No, sir. Nothing alive down there. But there are some energy readings that I can't explain." "What kind of energy?" Kate worked at her console for a moment. "Very low level, but steady. Like something is still running down there after all this time." Pete Williams chose that moment to arrive on the bridge. His uniform was dirty, and he looked tired, but he was smiling. "Captain, I've got good news and bad news," Pete said. The good news is that I've stopped the nanites from spreading. The bad news is that they did a lot of damage before I could kill them. It's going to take days to repair everything. How many days? Jake asked. At least a week, sir, maybe more. Jake felt his heart sink. A week was a long time to hide in an asteroid field with enemy ships waiting outside. But then he looked at Kate's scans again. Pete, what do you know about ancient alien technology? Pete looked confused. Not much, Captain. Why? Jake pointed at the science station. Because we might have found some. Pete studied the scans and whistled softly. Those are definitely artificial structures. And if they're as old as Kate thinks, the technology inside could be incredibly advanced. Or incredibly dangerous, Amy added. Jake nodded. Both, probably. But we might not have a choice. Kate, is there a way to get inside these structures? Kate worked at her console. I think so, Captain. There's what looks like an entrance about 300 meters from our current position. It's been sealed, but we might be able to cut through. Security Chief Mike Ross to the bridge, Jake called over the intercom. Mike arrived a few minutes later. He was a big man with calm eyes and steady hands. Jake had trusted him with difficult missions before. Mike, I need you to put together an exploration team. We're going to investigate some ancient ruins. Mike raised an eyebrow. Ruins, sir? Jake explained what Kate had found. Mike listened carefully, then nodded. I'll take a team of 4, Captain. Full environmental suits and heavy weapons. When do we go? Give us 2 hours to prepare, Jake said. Kate, I want you to come with us. Dr. Taylor, you too. We might need a scientist and a doctor. Captain, Amy said quietly, are you sure this is wise? We don't know what's down there. Jake understood her concern. Exploring alien ruins while hiding from enemy ships was risky. But staying where they were wasn't safe either. If the Zephyrians brought more ships, the Liberty would be trapped. They needed options. Amy, we're going to be here for at least a week. If there's technology down there that can help us, we need to find it. 2 hours later, Jake stood with his exploration team at the airlock. Mike Ross had chosen his best people, Sergeant Bill Cooper and Corporal Jenny White, both experienced in dangerous situations. They all wore environmental suits and carried weapons and scanning equipment. Remember, Jake said over the suit radio, we don't know what we're going to find down there. Stay alert and stick together. The team left the Liberty and moved carefully across the asteroid surface. The sealed entrance was exactly where Kate's scans had shown it would be. It was a circular opening about 3 meters wide, covered by what looked like metal that had been melted and reformed. Can we cut through this? Jake asked Pete, who had come along to examine any technology they found. Pete ran a scanner over the sealed entrance. It's not metal, Captain. It's some kind of ceramic material. Very hard, but I think our cutting tools can handle it. It took 30 minutes to cut through the seal. When the last piece fell away, Jake peered into the opening with his suit lights. A tunnel led down into the asteroid, disappearing into darkness. Air composition inside is breathable, Kate reported, checking her scanner. But I recommend we keep our suits on anyway. The team moved slowly down the tunnel. The walls were smooth and curved, clearly made by intelligent beings. After about 50 meters, the tunnel opened into a large chamber. Jake stopped and stared. The chamber was huge, maybe 100 meters across. The walls were covered with symbols and pictures that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. In the center of the room stood several tall structures that looked like computers or control panels. My God! Dr. Taylor whispered over the radio. "This is incredible." Kate was already scanning everything with her equipment. "Captain, these symbols, they're not random. This looks like some kind of language or mathematical system." Mike and his security team spread out around the chamber, weapons ready. "No immediate threats, Captain, but there are more tunnels leading deeper into the asteroid." Jake approached one of the central structures. It was about 3 meters tall and covered with the same glowing symbols they had seen on the walls. As he got closer, the glow seemed to get brighter. "Kate, are you seeing this?" "Yes, sir. The structure is responding to your presence. Energy levels are increasing." Pete moved to another structure. "Captain, these look like control panels, but I've never seen anything like them. The technology is far beyond anything humans or Zephyrians have." Dr. Taylor was examining the symbols on the walls. "The artwork is fascinating. It shows star maps, but the constellations are different from what we see today. This place must be incredibly old." "How old?" Jake asked. "Hard to say without proper equipment, but possibly millions of years." Jake felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold asteroid. Millions of years ago, an advanced civilization had built this place. What had happened to them? And why had they sealed the entrance? "Captain," Kate called out, excitement in her voice. "I'm getting some kind of signal from the deepest part of the complex. It's very faint, but it's definitely artificial." "What kind of signal?" "Unknown, sir. But it's coming from about 2 kilometers down, right at the limit of where our scans can reach." Jake looked around the chamber again. Whatever this place was, it was far more advanced than anything humans had ever built. The beings who made it had technology that might be able to help the Liberty escape from the Zephyrians. But he also knew that such advanced technology could be dangerous. There was a reason the entrance had been sealed. "All right, people," Jake said finally. "We're going deeper, but we go slow and careful. If anyone sees anything that looks dangerous, we retreat immediately." As the team prepared to explore further into the ancient complex, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to discover something that would change everything. He just hoped it would change things for the better. The exploration team moved deeper into the ancient complex, following tunnels that led them further down into the asteroid. The walls continued to show the strange, glowing symbols, and Jake noticed that they seemed to be getting brighter as the team went deeper. "Captain," Kate Brown said, studying her scanner, "the energy readings are getting stronger. Whatever is generating that signal, we're getting close to it." Dr. Sam Taylor had been examining the symbols as they walked. "Jake, I think these aren't just decorations. Look at how they're arranged. There's a pattern here, like they're trying to tell a story." Jake stopped to look at the wall Dr. Taylor was pointing to. The symbols showed what looked like stars and planets, with lines connecting them. Other symbols showed what might have been spaceships moving between the stars. "It looks like a star map," Jake said. "More than that," Dr. Taylor replied. "I think it's showing the history of whoever built this place. See here? This looks like a thriving civilization spread across many worlds. But then," he pointed to symbols further along the wall, "something happened. The connections between worlds are broken. Ships are fleeing." Pete Williams had been quiet, but now he spoke up. "Captain, look at this section. Those symbols, they look like they might be warnings." Jake examined the area Pete was indicating. The symbols here were different, more urgent somehow. They showed what looked like destruction spreading from world to world. "Whatever happened to these people," Jake said, "it wasn't good." The team continued down the tunnel until they reached another large chamber. This one was even bigger than the first, with a domed ceiling that stretched high above them. In the Phi, Center stood a single structure, much larger than the control panels they had seen before. "That's the source of the signal," Kate reported. "It's coming from that central structure." As they approached, Jake could see that this structure was different from the others. It was covered in symbols, but these were moving, shifting, and changing as he watched. "The symbols are active," Dr. Taylor observed. "It's like the whole thing is a giant computer screen." Mike Ross and his security team took positions around the chamber while Jake, Kate, Dr. Taylor, and Pete approached the central structure. As they got closer, the moving symbols began to slow down, as if the structure was focusing on their presence. "Captain," Kate said, looking at her scanner with surprise, "I'm detecting some kind of scanning beam. This thing is examining us." "Is it dangerous?" "I don't think so. It feels more like curiosity." Suddenly, the symbols on the structure stopped moving completely. Then slowly, new symbols began to appear. These were different from the others they had seen. Simpler somehow. "It's trying to communicate," Dr. Taylor said with excitement. "Look, it's showing us basic mathematical concepts. 1 + 1 = 2. The value of pi. It's establishing a baseline for communication." Jake watched in amazement as the ancient machine continued to display mathematical concepts, each one more complex than the last. Then the symbols changed again, showing what looked like star maps and pictures of different alien species. "It's showing us the galaxy," Kate said. "And look, there are dozens of different species represented here." The display changed again, focusing on one particular species. They were tall and graceful, with 4 arms and large eyes. The symbols showed these beings building great cities and exploring the stars. "Those must be the architects," Dr. Taylor said. "The ones who built this place." The display continued, showing the architects spreading across the galaxy, meeting other species, sharing knowledge. It was a peaceful civilization, one that seemed to value learning and cooperation above all else. But then the story took a dark turn. The symbols showed something coming from outside the galaxy, something dark and destructive that consumed everything in its path. The architects fought against it, but they were losing. "My God," Dr. Taylor whispered. They were fleeing from something that destroyed their entire civilization. The display showed the architects making a desperate decision. They gathered their most important knowledge and technology and hid it in places throughout the galaxy, places like this asteroid complex. They were preserving their knowledge for whoever came after them, Jake realized. The symbols changed again, and this time they showed something that made Jake's heart race. The display was showing humans. It showed the Liberty approaching the asteroid, the battle with the Zephyrians, and the crew's discovery of the complex. "It knows who we are," Kate said in amazement. "It's been watching us since we arrived." New symbols appeared, and Dr. Taylor worked to understand them. "It's asking us questions," he said, "about our intentions, our values, our species." "How can you tell?" "The pattern of the symbols. It's showing us scenarios and waiting for our responses." "It wants to know what kind of people we are," Jake thought carefully. This ancient machine was obviously intelligent, and it had knowledge that could help them. But it was also testing them somehow. "What kind of scenarios is it showing?" Dr. Taylor studied the display. "Here's one. It's showing a powerful weapon that could destroy an enemy fleet. But using it would also harm innocent people. It wants to know what we would choose." Jake understood. The machine was testing their moral character. "Tell it we would find another way. We don't harm innocents. even to save ourselves. Dr. Taylor worked with Kate to input their response using basic mathematical symbols. The machine seemed to consider their answer, then presented another scenario. This time, it showed a dying alien race asking for help. Helping them would be dangerous and offer no benefit to humans. We helped them, Jake said without hesitation. That's what humans do. They continued answering the machine's questions for over an hour. Each scenario tested different aspects of human nature: courage, compassion, wisdom, and strength. Jake answered honestly, sometimes admitting that humans were not perfect, but always emphasizing their desire to protect others and do what was right. Finally, the testing stopped. The machine's display went dark for several minutes, leaving the team in tense silence. Then slowly, new symbols began to appear. It's accepting us, Dr. Taylor said with wonder. It's saying that we reminded of the architects, that we have the same values they had. The display showed new star maps, but these were different. They showed the locations of other hidden architect facilities throughout the galaxy, places where knowledge and technology waited for a worthy species to claim them. Captain, Kate said, her voice filled with awe, it's offering to share the architect's knowledge with us, all of it. But then the machine showed them something else. The same dark force that had destroyed the architects was still out there, somewhere beyond the galaxy. It was patient, but it would return someday. When it did, the galaxy would need protectors. It wants us to take the architect's place, Jake realized, to become the guardians of the galaxy. The machine confirmed his understanding. It showed humans spreading across the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors, using architect technology to defend all the species of the galaxy from the darkness that would eventually return. Jake looked at his team. They were all staring at the display with expressions of wonder and fear. The responsibility being offered to them was enormous. Captain, Dr. Taylor said quietly, if we accept this, everything changes. Not just for us, but for all of humanity. Jake nodded. He understood the weight of the decision, but he also thought about the Zephyrian ships waiting outside and all the conflicts and dangers that threaten peaceful species throughout the galaxy. The machine is asking for our answer, Kate reported. Jake took a deep breath. Tell it yes. Tell it that humanity accepts the responsibility. As soon as their answer was transmitted, the entire complex began to change. Lights came on throughout the chamber, and Jake could hear the sound of ancient machinery starting up after millions of years of silence. The architect legacy was awakening, and humanity was about to inherit the guardianship of the galaxy. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the asteroid field where the human ship had disappeared. For 3 days, his fleet had waited at the edge of the field, but the humans had not emerged. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, our scouts have confirmed that the human ship is hiding deep in the asteroid field. They appear to be making repairs. Vexitar's scaled face showed satisfaction. Good. Let them repair their ship. It will not help them when we attack. Sir, wouldn't it be easier to wait for them to come out? The asteroid field is dangerous for our ships. Vexitar turned his cold eyes on his officer. The humans have already shown they are cleverer than we expected. If we wait too long, they might find a way to escape. We attack now, while they are still damaged. The Zephyrian admiral had brought 6 heavy destroyers to finish off the Liberty. It should have been more than enough firepower to destroy 1 damaged human warship, even in an asteroid field. All ships, advance into the field. Spread out in hunting formation. Find the human ship and destroy it. Meanwhile, aboard the Liberty, Jake Murphy felt the ancient complex coming to life around him. Lights were activating throughout the asteroid, and he could hear the sound of machinery that had been silent for millions of years. "Captain," Kate Brown said, studying her scanner in amazement, "the entire asteroid is powering up. Energy levels are increasing exponentially." Dr. Sam Taylor was still examining the central machine's display. "It's downloading information directly into our computers. Technical specifications, star charts, historical records, thousands of years of knowledge." "Captain Murphy to the Liberty," Jake called over his radio. Amy Clark's voice came back immediately. "Captain, thank God. We're detecting massive energy readings from inside the asteroid. What's happening down there?" "We've made contact with an ancient artificial intelligence, Amy. It's sharing its technology with us." "What's the status of our repairs?" "Pete's team has made good progress, sir. Engines are back online at 70%. Weapons are at 60%. But, Captain, we have a bigger problem. The Zephyrian fleet is moving into the asteroid field. They're hunting for us." Jake looked at his team. The ancient machine was still transferring information, but they might not have time to receive it all. "How long until they find us?" Jake asked. "At their current search pattern, maybe 2 hours," Amy replied. Jake made a decision. "All right, everyone back to the ship. Kate, can you speed up the data transfer?" Kate was working frantically at her bow scanner. "I'm trying, Captain, but there's so much information. It could take hours to download everything." The ancient machine seemed to understand their urgency. The display changed, showing the approaching Zephyrian ships and the danger they represented. Then it showed something else: defensive systems hidden throughout the asteroid. "It's asking if we wanted to activate the asteroid's defenses," Dr. Taylor said. "What kind of defenses?" Jake asked. The display showed weapons and shields far more advanced than anything humans or Zephyrians possessed. Energy cannons that could punch through any armor, shields that could turn solid matter invisible, and automated systems that could react faster than any living pilot. "Tell it yes," Jake said. "Activate the defenses." As the team hurried back to the Liberty, the asteroid around them continued to change. Hidden panels opened in the rock, revealing weapon systems that began to extend outward. The whole asteroid was transforming from a hiding place into a fortress. Back on the Liberty's bridge, Amy Clark watched her sensors in disbelief. "Captain, the asteroid it's becoming something else. I'm reading weapon systems coming online all around us." Jake and his team reached the bridge just as the first Zephyrian ship entered scanning range of their hiding spot. "Red alert," Jake ordered. "All hands to battle stations." On his flagship, Admiral Vextar received the first report from his scouts. "Admiral, we've found the human ship. But, sir, there's something else. The asteroid they're hiding in is showing massive energy readings." Vextar frowned. "What kind of energy readings?" "Unknown, sir. But they're unlike anything in our databases." "It doesn't matter," Vextar decided. "All ships converge on the human position. Whatever they've found, we'll destroy it along with them." The 6 Zephyrian destroyers moved through the asteroid field toward the Liberty's position. They were confident in their superior numbers and firepower. They did not expect what happened next. The first Zephyrian ship to get within range of the asteroid suddenly found itself under attack. Energy beams unlike anything they had ever seen before shot out from hidden positions in the rock. The beams passed right through the ship's shields as if they didn't exist. "Admiral," the ship's captain called frantically, "we're under attack! Unknown weapons! Our shields are useless!" Vextar watched in shock as his lead destroyer took massive damage in seconds. The ship's armor melted under the alien energy beams like ice in hot water. "All ships, return fire! Destroy those weapon positions!" The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and missiles filled the space around the asteroid. But their weapons seemed to have no effect. The alien defensive systems absorbed or deflected every shot. Aboard the Liberty, Jake watched the battle with amazement. The ancient weapons were protecting them, but he could see that the Zephyrian fleet was not giving up. "Captain," Amy reported, "the asteroids. Defenses are holding, but there are 6 enemy ships out there. They might try to overwhelm the system." Jake looked at the tactical display. The Zephyrian ships were spreading out, trying to attack from multiple directions at once. "Captain," Kate said, "the ancient machine is still transferring data to us. I'm getting weapon specifications and shield technologies. But, sir, it's also showing me something else." "What?" "The defensive systems can do more than just protect us. They can be creative." As if responding to Kate's words, the asteroid's weapons began to behave differently. Instead of just firing at the Zephyrian ships, they began to manipulate the space around them. Asteroids started moving, guided by invisible force fields. The very environment of the asteroid field became a weapon. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as his carefully planned attack turned into chaos. Asteroids were colliding with his ships, appearing out of nowhere as if they were being thrown by invisible hands. His weapons could not target the enemy defensive systems because they seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost 2 ships. The remaining vessels are requesting permission to withdraw." Vexitar's pride would not let him retreat, but his tactical sense told him this battle was already lost. The humans had found something. Beyond his understanding, something that made his superior numbers meaningless. "All ships, fall back to the edge of the field," he ordered reluctantly. "We'll wait for reinforcements." As the surviving Zephyrian ships retreated, Jake felt a mixture of relief and awe. The ancient defenses had saved them, but he knew this was just the beginning. The machine was still transferring knowledge to them, and each new piece of information showed him just how much the galaxy was about to change. "Captain," Dr. Taylor said, "the machine is asking us another question. It wants to know if we're ready to accept full integration with their systems." Jake understood what that meant. The ancient intelligence was offering to merge some of its capabilities with the Liberty itself. The ship would become something new, something that combined human determination with technology millions of years advanced. "What do you think, people?" Jake asked his crew. Amy looked at the tactical display showing the retreating Zephyrian ships. "Sir, they'll be back with more ships. We need every advantage we can get." Pete Williams had been studying the technical data streaming into their computers. "Captain, this technology, it could revolutionize everything. Not just weapons and shields, but engines, life support, even space travel itself." Jake made his decision. "Tell the machine yes. We accept full integration." As the ancient intelligence began the integration process, Jake felt the Liberty changing around him. The ship was becoming something more than human, but it was still under human control, still guided by human values and human determination to protect the innocent. The Zephyrians had tried to destroy them, but instead they had awakened something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Liberty shuddered as the ancient technology merged with its systems. Captain Jake Murphy felt the deck vibrating under his feet as impossible changes took place throughout his ship. On the bridge, every console was displaying information, in languages that didn't exist an hour ago. "Captain," Pete Williams called from engineering, his voice filled with wonder, "you need to see this. The ship's entire structure is changing. New systems are growing out of the old ones like they were always meant to be there." Jake looked around the bridge as panels he had never seen before emerged from the walls. The view screen expanded, becoming clearer and more detailed than ever before. He could feel something else, too, a presence that seemed to be watching and learning. "Kate," Jake said to his science officer, "are you still getting data from the machine?" Kate Brown was staring at her console with amazement. "Yes, sir. But it's not just data anymore. It's like having a conversation with someone who has seen the entire history of the galaxy." Dr. Sam Taylor approached Jake with excitement in his eyes. "Captain, the entity is communicating directly with me now. It calls itself the Guardian. It's not just a machine. It's the preserved consciousness of the last architect scientist." "What is it telling you?" "Everything," Dr. Taylor replied. "The history of their species, the technology they developed, and the threat they were fleeing from. But, Captain, it's also evaluating us. It's been watching how we handle this situation, how we treat each other, how we make decisions." As if, responding to their conversation, the main view screen changed. Instead of showing the asteroid field outside, it displayed an image of a tall, graceful being with 4 arms and large, kind eyes. When it spoke, its voice came through the ship's communication system in perfect English. "Greetings, humans of the vessel Liberty. I am the Guardian, the last witness of the architect civilization. For millions of years, I have waited for a species worthy of our legacy." Jake stepped forward. "We are honored to meet you, Guardian, but we need to understand what's happening to our ship. Your vessel is being enhanced with architect technology, Captain Murphy. But this is not a taking over of your ship. It is a partnership. You and your crew remain in complete control. The technology serves you, not the other way around." Amy Clark looked up from her tactical station. "Guardian, our sensors are showing incredible improvements. We can see things now that were impossible before." "That is correct, Lieutenant Clark. Your ship now possesses sensory capabilities that can detect threats across vast distances. Your weapons can penetrate any known defense. Your shields can protect you from forces that would destroy planets." Pete Williams's voice came over the intercom from engineering. "Captain, the engines... I've never seen anything like this. We could travel across the galaxy in weeks instead of years." The Guardian's image smiled. "Chief Williams speaks truly. But remember, humans, power without wisdom leads to destruction. This is why I have observed you carefully. The architects were peaceful beings who used their technology to protect and nurture life throughout the galaxy. I needed to know that humans share these values." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "What happened to the architects, Guardian? Why did they disappear?" The view screen changed, showing images of the galaxy as it was millions of years ago. Beautiful worlds filled with life, connected by peaceful trade and knowledge sharing. The architects had helped many younger species develop and grow. "We were happy," the Guardian said. "We thought we had found the perfect balance between technology and wisdom. But then the Devourers came. The images changed, showing something dark and terrible approaching from beyond the galaxy. It looked like a cloud of living shadow that consumed everything it touched. The Devourers are not from our galaxy," the Guardian continued. "They come from the void between galaxies, seeking energy and life to consume. When they arrived, they began destroying everything. Worlds, stars, entire solar systems. Dr. Taylor asked, "How did you fight them?" "We tried everything. Our greatest weapons could barely slow them down. Our most powerful shields lasted only minutes against their assault. We realized that we could not win, so we made a different choice." The images showed the architects gathering their knowledge and technology, hiding it in secret locations throughout the galaxy. We preserved everything we had learned, hoping that someday a worthy species would find it and use it to succeed where we failed. Then we fled beyond the galaxy's edge, leading the devourers away from the worlds we had protected. "Did you succeed?" Jake asked. "Yes and no," the Guardian replied sadly. "We led them away, but the cost was the end of our civilization. I am the only one who remained, hidden in this asteroid, waiting and watching." Amy looked up from her console. "Guardian, are the Devourers still out there?" "Yes, Lieutenant. They are patient, but they will return. The energy signatures of growing civilizations will eventually attract them back to this galaxy. When that happens, the galaxy will need protectors who can succeed where the architects failed." Jake understood now why the Guardian had tested them so carefully. "You want humans to take your place as guardians of the galaxy." "Not just humans, Captain. All worthy species working together. But humans will be the first, because you have shown the same values the architects possessed: courage, compassion, and the willingness to sacrifice for others." The Guardian's image looked directly at Jake. "But I must be clear about what this means. Accepting this role will change humanity forever. You will have access to technology beyond your current understanding, but you will also have the responsibility to protect all life in the galaxy." Jake looked around at his crew. They were all listening intently, understanding the enormous decision they were being asked to make. "What would happen if we said no?" Jake asked. "Nothing would be forced upon you," the Guardian replied. "The technology would remain dormant, and you would return to your lives as before. But someday, when the Devourers return, the galaxy would face them without the architect's legacy." Pete Williams came onto the bridge, his face glowing with excitement. "Captain, the things I've seen in engineering, we could solve every problem humanity has ever faced. Energy, disease, even death itself might be conquered with this technology. But only if we accept the responsibility that comes with it," Jake said. The Guardian nodded. "Wisdom, Captain Murphy. Power without responsibility is the path to destruction. The technology I offer will make you incredibly powerful, but it must be used to protect, not to conquer." Jake thought about everything they had learned. The Zephyrian fleet was still out there, waiting for reinforcements. Other species throughout the galaxy faced conflicts and dangers, and somewhere beyond the galaxy's edge, an ancient evil waited to return. "Guardian," Jake said finally, "if we accept this responsibility, what happens next?" "First, your ship becomes the prototype for a new class of Guardian vessels. Then we begin the long process of preparing the galaxy for what is to come. We find other worthy species and offer them the same choice. We build alliances based on protection rather than conquest." Jake looked at his crew one more time. Amy nodded firmly. Dr. Taylor smiled with excitement. Pete was practically bouncing, with eagerness to explore the new technology. Even Mike Ross, who had remained silent, gave a small nod of approval. "Guardian," Jake said, "humanity accepts this responsibility. We will become the new guardians of the galaxy." The Guardian's image smiled with what looked like relief and joy. Then let us begin, Captain Murphy. Your ship is ready, your crew is worthy, and the galaxy needs protection. The age of the human guardian starts now. As the Guardian's words echoed through the bridge, Jake felt the Liberty completing its transformation. The ship was still recognizably human, but it was also something more. Something that carried the hopes and dreams of two civilizations. One that had fallen protecting the galaxy, and one that was just beginning to understand its cosmic destiny. Admiral Vexitar paced the bridge of his flagship, his anger growing with each passing hour. 3 more Zephyrian destroyers had arrived to reinforce his fleet, giving him 9 ships total. It should have been more than enough to destroy one human vessel, no matter what strange weapons they had found. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "our scouts confirmed the human ship is still hiding in the asteroid. The unknown energy readings have stabilized, but they're still far beyond anything in our databases." "It doesn't matter," Vexitar snarled. 9 ships can overwhelm any defense. All vessels advance into the field. This time we destroy them completely. Meanwhile, aboard the transformed Liberty, Captain Jake Murphy was learning about his ship's new capabilities. The bridge now displayed information in ways he had never imagined possible. He could see every ship in the Zephyrian fleet, track their movements, even detect their internal systems. "Captain," Amy Clark reported from her enhanced tactical station, "9 Zephyrian ships are approaching our position. They're moving in a coordinated attack formation." "Guardian," Jake said, speaking to the ancient consciousness that now shared their ship. "What are our options?" The Guardian's voice responded, immediately through the communication system. "Captain Murphy, your ship now possesses capabilities that make the approaching fleet irrelevant as a threat. However, I encourage you to consider your response carefully. How you handle this situation will set a precedent for humanity's role. As Galactic Guardians," Jake understood what the Guardian meant. "They could easily destroy the Zephyrian fleet, but that would make them conquerors, not protectors. Amy, show me detailed scans of their ships." The main view screen displayed tactical information about each Zephyrian vessel. Jake could see crew, numbers, weapon capabilities, even the health status of individual aliens aboard each ship. "Captain," Dr. Sam Taylor said, studying the medical data, "there are over 3,000 Zephyrians in that fleet. Many of them are probably just following orders." Jake nodded. "Pete, what can our new systems do besides destroy things?" Pete Williams was at his engineering station, marveling at the displays showing the ship's enhanced capabilities. "Captain, these systems can do almost anything. We could disable their ships without harming the crews. We could even transport their people to safety if needed. Guardian, is it possible to end this conflict without killing anyone?" "Yes, Captain Murphy. The technology at your disposal can neutralize threats without taking lives. But remember, your enemies will not understand mercy as strength. They may see it as weakness." Jake thought about this. The Zephyrians had ambushed them, tried to kill his crew, and were now returning with overwhelming force. Most military commanders would respond with equal violence, but the Guardian was right. How humanity handled this situation would define their future role in the galaxy. "All right," Jake decided. "We're going to show them what real strength looks like. Amy, prepare to disable their ships without harming their crews. Pete, stand by to assist damaged vessels. Dr. Taylor, prepare to offer medical aid if anyone is injured." As the Zephyrian fleet entered the asteroid field, Admiral Vexitar felt confident. His 9 ships spread out in a perfect attack formation. This time, there would be no escape for the humans. "All ships, open fire on the asteroid. Destroy everything." The combined firepower of 9 destroyers lit up the space around the Liberty's hiding place. Energy beams and missiles filled the asteroid field. But this time, something different happened. Instead of simply absorbing or deflecting the attacks, the Liberty emerged from its hiding place. But the ship that appeared was unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. It seemed to shimmer and phase, sometimes appearing solid, sometimes almost transparent. Energy fields surrounded it in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Admiral," the tactical officer reported with fear in his voice, "the human ship. It's not showing any damage from our attack." "And, sir, its power readings are impossible." Vexitar stared at the transformed Liberty. It looked like a human ship, but it also looked like something else entirely, something that belonged in the realm of legends rather than reality. "Continue firing," he ordered. The Zephyrian fleet poured everything they had at the Liberty, but their weapons passed harmlessly through the ship's shields. Meanwhile, the Liberty began to respond. Instead of firing back with conventional weapons, the ship emitted pulses of energy that passed through the Zephyrian ship's shields as if they didn't exist. But instead of causing explosions or damage, the energy pulses simply shut down the enemy vessel's systems. One by one, the Zephyrian ships went dark. Their engines stopped, their weapons powered down, their shields collapsed. In less than 5 minutes, 9 of the most powerful warships in the Zephyrian fleet were floating helplessly in space. "Admiral," came panicked reports from across the fleet. "Our systems are offline. We have life support only." Vexitar found himself in command of a fleet that could not move, could not fight, and could not escape. But they were all still alive. Then something even more unexpected happened. The Liberty moved alongside the nearest disabled Zephyrian ship and began extending what looked like docking tubes. Jake's voice came across all Zephyrian communication channels. "This is Captain Murphy of the human vessel Liberty. Your ships have been disabled, but your crews are unharmed. We are preparing to offer assistance with repairs and medical aid for anyone who needs it." Vexitar could not believe what he was hearing. You're offering to help us?" "That's correct, Admiral. Your ships attacked us, but we have no desire to see your people die in space. We're offering humanitarian assistance. For the first time in his military career, Vexitar was completely confused. He had attacked the humans with overwhelming force, tried to destroy them completely, and now they were offering to help him. "This is some kind of trick," he said. "No trick, Admiral," Jake replied. "Our medical officer is standing by to assist with any injured personnel. Our engineers can help restore basic systems to your ships. We ask only that you allow us to help." Dr. Taylor's voice joined the conversation. "Admiral Vexitar, our scans show that several of your crew members are suffering from radiation exposure. We have medical technology that can treat them completely." Vexitar looked around his darkened bridge. His crew was looking at him with expressions of confusion and hope. Several of his officers had indeed been injured when their systems overloaded. "Why?" Vexitar asked finally. "Why help your enemies?" Jake's answer came without hesitation. "Because that's what Guardians do, Admiral. We protect life, even the lives of those who oppose us." Over the next several hours, human medical and engineering teams worked aboard the disabled Zephyrian ships. Dr. Taylor treated injured aliens with the same care he would give to human patients. Pete Williams helped Zephyrian engineers understand what had happened to their systems and how to prevent it in the future. Admiral Vexitar found himself in the Liberty's medical bay, where Dr. Taylor was treating a serious injury to his arm. "Your technology," Vextar said. "It's beyond anything we thought possible. Where did you get it?" Dr. Taylor looked up from his work. "We were chosen by an ancient civilization to carry on their legacy. They were protectors of the galaxy, and now that role falls to us." "Protectors," Vextar repeated. "But you could have destroyed us easily." "Yes," Dr. Taylor agreed. "But destroying you would not have protected anyone. Helping you, showing you that there's a better way to resolve conflicts, that protects everyone." As the rescue operations continued, Vextar began to understand something that changed his entire perspective on the war between their species. The humans had not just defeated him, they had demonstrated a kind of strength he had never encountered before. The strength to show mercy when you had the power to destroy. "Captain Murphy," Vextar said over the communication channel, "I wish to speak with you privately." When they met in the Liberty's conference room, Vextar looked at the human captain with new respect. "You could have killed us all," the Admiral said. "Yes," Jake replied simply. "But you chose not to, even though we attacked you without provocation." "That's right." Vextar was quiet for a long moment. "In all my years as a military commander, I have never encountered an enemy who responded to attack with assistance. You have shown me something I did not know existed." "What's that?" "True strength," Vextar said. "My people have always believed that strength comes from the ability to destroy your enemies. But you have shown me that real strength comes from the ability to turn enemies into allies." Jake smiled. "That's exactly what we're hoping for, Admiral. The galaxy faces challenges that no single species can handle alone. We need to work together." Vextar nodded slowly. "I think it is time for my people to reconsider their approach to galactic relations. Perhaps we have been wrong about many things." As the Zephyrian fleet prepared to depart with their systems restored, Jake felt satisfied with the outcome. They had faced overwhelming odds, gained incredible power, and used that power to demonstrate humanity's values. The Guardian had been right. How they handled this first test would define their future as galactic protectors. "Guardian," Jake said quietly. "I think we passed the test." "Indeed you did, Captain Murphy," the ancient consciousness replied. "You." 6 months after the encounter in the asteroid field, Captain Jake Murphy stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest space station. Through the massive windows, he could see ships from dozens of different species docked at the stations, ports. Human vessels worked alongside Zephyrian destroyers, while alien cargo ships from the far reaches of the galaxy brought supplies and personnel. The station had been built using architect technology, constructed in just 3 months. It served as the headquarters for the new Galactic Protection Alliance, an organization that would have been impossible to imagine before the Liberty's transformation. "Captain," came a familiar voice behind him. Jake turned to see Admiral Vextar approaching, wearing the blue uniform of the Alliance, rather than his old Zephyrian military colors. "Admiral," Jake replied with a smile. "How are the new recruits adapting to the training?" Vextar looked out at the busy docking bays. "Better than I expected. The young officers from all our member species seem eager to learn the Guardian principles. Though I admit, some of the older commanders still struggle with the concept of protecting rather than conquering." Jake nodded. The transition had not been easy for anyone. When the Liberty had returned to human space with news of the Architect legacy, it had caused upheaval throughout human government and military. Some leaders had wanted to use the technology to dominate other species, Others had been afraid of the responsibility it represented, but the Guardian's wisdom had guided them through those difficult early days. The ancient consciousness had made it clear that the technology would only work for those who truly embraced the role of protector. Any attempt to use it for conquest or personal gain would cause the systems to shut down permanently. Any word from the deep space exploration teams? Jake asked. Yes, Vextar replied. Team 7 found another architect facility in the Andromeda border region. It contained information about defensive strategies that could be crucial when the Devourers return. The mention of the Devourers sobered both men. The Guardian had been clear that the ancient enemy would eventually return to the galaxy. It was not a matter of if, but when. Every piece of architect technology they recovered, every new alliance they formed, every advance in their understanding brought them closer to being ready for that ultimate confrontation. Dr. Sam Taylor joined them at the observation window, carrying a data pad filled with reports. Jake, I've got the latest updates from the research divisions. The medical advances we're making with architect biotechnology are incredible. We've essentially eliminated disease among the Alliance species, and the life extension treatments are showing remarkable results. Any problems with the technology integration? Jake asked. Some, Dr. Taylor admitted. A few species are having trouble adapting to the neural interfaces, but Kate's team is working on modifications that should solve those issues. Jake looked out at the ships again, thinking about how much had changed since that day in the asteroid field. The Liberty itself had become the template for a new class of Guardian vessels. 50 ships now carried the architect technology, crewed by carefully selected personnel from dozens of species. The process of selecting new Guardians had been rigorous. The ancient consciousness had insisted on testing each candidate the same way it had tested Jake's crew. Only those who demonstrated the values of protection, compassion, and wisdom were allowed to bond with the technology. Captain Murphy to the command center, came Amy Clark's voice over the intercom. She had been promoted to admiral and now commanded the Alliance fleet. Jake made his way to the station's command center, where Amy was studying a holographic display of the galaxy. Red markers showed known threats, blue markers indicated Alliance positions, and green markers marked the locations of discovered architect facilities. What's the situation, Amy? Jake asked. We've got reports of pirate activity in the Outer Rim sectors, Amy replied. 3 different species have requested Alliance assistance. The attacks seem coordinated, possibly backed by someone with significant resources. Jake studied the display. The pirate attacks were concentrated around trade routes, disrupting commerce between Alliance member worlds. Could it be a test? Asked Pete Williams, who had joined them. He now served as the Alliance's chief technology officer, overseeing the integration of architect systems across the fleet. A test of what? Amy asked. Of our response, Pete explained. Someone might be testing how quickly we can respond to threats, how we coordinate between species, how effective our new technology really is. Jake considered this possibility. The Alliance had made many enemies simply by existing. Some species preferred the old ways of conflict and conquest. Others resented humanity's role as the inheritors of the architect legacy. Guardian, Jake said, addressing the ancient consciousness that now existed throughout the Alliance network. What do you think? The Guardian's voice responded from speakers throughout the command center. Captain Murphy, the pattern of attacks suggests coordination beyond simple piracy. However, I detect something else in the sensor data. The attackers are using technology that shows signs of architect influence. This news surprised everyone in the room. Architect technology was supposed to be restricted to Alliance members who had passed the Guardian tests. How is that possible? Amy asked. There are two possibilities, the Guardian replied. Either someone has stolen Alliance technology, or they have found an architect facility that we have not yet discovered. Jake felt a chill. If someone had found architect technology and was using it for criminal purposes, it represented exactly the kind of threat the Guardian system was designed to prevent. Amy, prepare a task force, Jake ordered. I want our best ships and crews. We're going to investigate these attacks personally. Sir, Amy replied, you don't need to go yourself. We have dozens of qualified Guardian teams now. I know, Jake said. But if someone is misusing architect technology, I want to handle this personally. The Guardian chose us first for a reason. 3 days later, Jake found himself back on the bridge of the Liberty, leading a task force of 5 Guardian ships into the Outer Rim. The pirates had been tracked to an uninhabited system where they apparently had a hidden base. As the task force approached the system, their enhanced sensors detected something unexpected. There was indeed an architect facility in the system, hidden within a gas giant's atmosphere, but the energy readings suggested it was being used in ways the architects had never intended. Captain, reported the Liberty's new science officer, Lieutenant Sarah King, I'm detecting weapons testing on the facility. Someone is experimenting with architect technology. Can you identify who? Negative, sir. But the facility's defenses are still active. Whoever is using it must have found a way to convince the Guardian systems that they are worthy. This was deeply troubling. The Guardian consciousness had assured them that the technology would only work for those who truly embraced the Protector role. Guardian, Jake said, how could someone fool your systems? It should not be possible, Captain Murphy, the Guardian replied, confusion evident in its voice. Unless they are not trying to fool the systems, unless they genuinely believe they are acting as protectors. Jake understood immediately. Someone had found architect technology and convinced themselves that using it for violent purposes was justified. They believed they were protecting something even while they attacked innocent traders. Take us to the facility, Jake ordered. We need to end this. As the task force approached the hidden base, Jake prepared for what might be their most difficult challenge yet. Fighting an enemy was one thing. Confronting someone who believed they were doing right while using Guardian technology for wrong purposes would test everything the Alliance stood for. The Liberty and its escort ships moved through the gas giants' atmosphere toward the stolen architect facility. Whatever they found there would determine whether the Guardian legacy would be preserved or corrupted. All ships prepare for anything, Jake announced to his task force. We're about to find out if our principles are strong enough to survive their first real test. As the facility came into view through the swirling clouds, Jake could see that it had been modified with weapons and defenses far beyond anything the original architects had built. Someone had taken technology meant to preserve life and turned it into an instrument of war. The age of the Guardians was about to face its greatest challenge yet, and Jake Murphy knew that how they handled this situation would determine the future of the galaxy itself.